Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel. This is Daniel and Esther Ebhohimen.
You're welcome. Thanks for stopping by. This is Daniel and Esther Ebhohimen, as you've just heard. And so on this channel, we're going to be talking about three P's, okay? So the first P is partnering, because we've been married for 11 years plus now. So we're going to be talking about love, about relationship, about marriage, and things like that. And then the second P is parenting, because we've been raising three wonderful kids for the past decade and counting. And then the last P is pastoring, because we have been pastors for a while now. That's what we do. Okay, so once again, you're welcome here. We're going to be having really great conversations, really honest conversations
That's
about
right.
our journey, about our experiences, about things we're learning, we're gleaning, even about our mistakes. It's going to be very, very plain and open and honest and sometimes vulnerable as
Yeah,
well.
we want to keep it real,
Yeah,
share with you whether you're single, whether you're married, your
yeah,
parents, whichever part of the journey or season of life you're in. I
yes.
think there's going to be something for you to glean right here. So, we just thought today we should talk about how we met,
Yeah.
our love story. We've shared it in different places, but we just thought to actually put it out there for you out there to know how we met. Hopefully, our own journey can inspire you.
That's right.
So this year we're going to be 12 years married. We met exactly May 2009,
Yes,
right?
yes, May 2009.
May 2nd, 2009. We met in church.
Yes.
We met in church. We were both attending Winners Chapel, London,
Yes.
right? So we met through a mutual friend in church. Just sometime after the service, we met. I was music director in church back then, and then our friend, her name is Mercy, right, a dear friend of ours. She introduced us, after the service, and then I think that was when we first met, isn't it?
Well, I have a little bit of a rewind to do right now because my husband thinks we met 2009, but before London, before London was Nigeria. So in 2008, let me take you back just about a year
So you want to
before.
share your version?
Yes, this is my version of the story. In 2008, my then his dad was the pastor of the branch of Winners Chapel I attended. Okay, so my family, we were members of Winners Chapel Kaduna, Garden of Faith Kaduna, the city of Nigeria. And at that time, his dad was the pastor of our church. And so I was a member of the teens church, and then I was just graduating from the teens church into the main church. And one of those Sundays after I graduated from teens church, I just wanted to come around the teens church and say hello to one or two younger friends. And I came over to the teens church building, and as soon as a number of them saw me, they were having rehearsal, but they just kind of ran out. A number of them ran out. Some of them were just hailing on me and Auntie Esther, Auntie Esther. And this guy, who happened to be their music director at the time,
Yeah.
was kind of ticked off that they all got distracted while they were rehearsing before the service. And so he was trying to get their attention back. And he asked them to all come back and join the rehearsal and not be distracted. And I'm like, who do you think you are? So that was the first time I met him. I would come to find out that he was my pastor's son. So that was when I met him before we went to London.
Okay. So, well, I guess we can say the official meeting
Yeah.
was May 2009.
Yes, because I mean, at that time, we never talked.
Yeah.
Not like we got acquainted to each other, but I just knew I could put a name to the face. Yes, in
All right.
2008.
Yeah. I mean, so when we got introduced in May
Yeah.
2009, it was just like, okay, meet Esther, meet Daniel. That was more how it was.
Yeah, it was an all night. So we
Yes.
just finished the ministry's anniversary
Yeah,
all
we had a
night.
vigil.
Yes, a night vigil. And that morning, we're just packing up, after the service. And this mutual friend, Mercy, was like, oh, I want to introduce you to this person. I knew him back in Kaduna Church. And, so she did the introduction. And then that's when we just kind of clicked off
Yeah,
and started to
yeah.
talk.
So we started talking. I mean, I think I kind of got your phone number along the line
Yeah, I think sometime after we talked, my
after we
friend,
met.
yeah, after we met, my friend Mercy reached out to me and is like, this guy is asking for your number. Is it okay I forward it to him? And I'm like, it's fine. Go ahead. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
it.
so I also added you on Facebook, and
Yes.
then we started talking. And to be honest with you, when I met you, for us, it wasn't like love at first sight.
Oh, no, no, no. It was nothing
To
like
be honest with
that
you, initially there was really no attraction. It
at
was
all.
just a good sister in church. Okay, this is more like a younger sister, that kind of thing.
For me, I mean, obviously he's a PK,
Pastor's kid
yeah,
or
a
preacher's
preacher's kid,
kid.
and so when our friend introduced us to each other, I saw it as an opportunity to get to know more about God, get to know more about life through this guy that is a preacher's kid that should know, I mean, obviously should know a lot more about God than I, who happens not to be a preacher's kid. And so I kind of saw him as a mentor. I
Yeah,
looked to him as someone I could learn from.
yeah.
Yeah.
So initially it was like a mentorship relationship, isn't it?
Yes, it
So I
was.
was like mentoring her.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about spiritual stuff, we'll talk about books, life
Life, career
issues, career
choices. Yeah.
choices, I mean, your schoolwork and all
Yeah.
of that. It was really formal
Yes,
initially.
it was.
It was really formal. We would meet in church, sometimes just discuss perhaps spiritual stuff
Yes.
and general life principles and things like that.
Yes, and he
And
would walk me from the church to the train station,
yeah,
and
yeah.
sometimes he would accompany me from the train station maybe to the next drop within his TFL limit.
Yeah, so that's
Yes,
the transport
yes,
zone.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So I mean, at what point do you think things changed? Maybe
Okay, so as we talked a lot, like we talked on phone, we did a lot of night calls and Facebook chats here and there, even before BB came
because
around.
initially at that
Yeah,
point I actually was outside London. I was
yes.
in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, you were in Wolverhampton doing your
I was doing my
masters, and
masters.
I was doing my international foundation program,
Yes.
IFP, leading me to my undergrad. And
Yeah.
so you asked the question, at what point did it move from that whole official mentorship relationship
Yeah.
to, so we had talked a lot, and I mean, the point is I saw him as a mentor,
Yeah.
so I was the one who was asking a lot of questions. I was the one who wanted to know more, who wanted to learn. But I don't know at what point, but at a certain point, I noticed he began to ask me questions as well.
Questions, right?
Personal questions. Okay, like have you been in a relationship before? Stuff like that. Very, very personal questions about my family and things like. And then I'm like, these are not mentorship questions. Why do you want to know about my personal life? Okay, and then beyond that, there was a point whereby he mentioned something that sort of put my guards down. One of our conversations, and we talked, and then he was like, I know that you look at me as this mentor, but to be honest with you, we are not that far apart in age. So
Because at this
yeah.
point you didn't know how old I was,
No, I
right?
didn't. I mean, by the way, I waited for admission 4 years in Nigeria before leaving for school. And so I got into university as a full blown adult. I was an adult student. Okay, so even though but even seeing that he was already doing his master's, having studied a 5 year course engineering for 5 years, and he was already doing his master's,
You assumed
I
there was
assumed
the
that there
age
was some age
difference.
gap. I assumed so. Okay, but by the time he mentioned that, because he had already asked for my age and I had already told him, I then realized, okay, maybe I'm talking to an age mate here. Maybe I'm talking to somebody who is just a couple of years older than I am. Okay, so that helped to let my guards down and to begin to see him as really a friend that we could both learn from, we could both glean from, and we could just enjoy each other's company.
Yes, I mean, so at that point, I think it switched into friendship.
Yes, yes. It went from the mentorship zone to
Yeah.
the friendship zone.
So we just began to relate as friends.
Yes.
And I think I began to get to know you more.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, the attraction kind of started.
Yeah, I mean, it's different strokes for different folks, but it comes to a point where like I think I am getting attached to this guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was that attraction.
Yes.
Obviously, we began to develop feelings for each other.
Yeah, I started to look forward to his calls. I was anticipating those night calls more.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
We would spend a lot of time on the phone.
Yes.
Getting to know each other more.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that really was major at that season was I was able to give you guidance about your career path.
Yeah.
I mean, because you wanted to study law initially.
Yes.
And then along the line, I had to give you guidance about changing to mass communication and journalism, which was really your passion, isn't it?
I mean, I can still see, the day we're walking back from church to the train station, and then you started to ask me what course I wanted to study after my IFP. And I'm like, oh, journalism,
IFP?
International Foundation Program.
Yeah.
All right. It's just like a pre-degree. All right. And so I told you law and economics. That's what I was going into for. I had always sort of thought I wanted to study law. And then the opportunity to study abroad opened me up for a joint degree. So I said law and economics. And then you began to ask a lot of questions, who are my mentors? Where do I see myself years down the line? What career path I wanted to take, and I think at some point I said I wanted to do criminal law. And, he's like, is that really what you want to do? And then you would ask me, who are my law, mentors, and I would mention some big wigs in Nigeria, including I would also mention Barack Obama. And one of the important things you pointed out to me is that when we call people mentors, we are basically saying that this people's life, okay, this is where I want to go to, where their destination is where I'm looking at heading to. And you pointed out to me that these guys, a number of them, eventually ended up in politics. And so you asked me, is this really what you want to do? And I didn't. I honestly didn't want to get into politics. My late dad was in politics until he died. I didn't like politics, and I didn't think that was God's path for me.
Yeah.
And so I said no. And you the thing is, it wasn't even like you were just shoving it down my throat. You were just giving me perspective, and so you were just giving me clarity. And you were like, just go home, think about it, think about your life a bit more. And you said something very, very, very striking. You said, you as a person, you went to uni as a very young chap, but if you were given opportunity to go to uni as an adult like me, perhaps your choice of course would have been different. And that really, really sent a lot of message to me. It made me go back, sit down and really think about my life. And for some reason, anytime people told me to study mass communication growing up, I would tell them, no, it's too simple. I just found that it was just natural for me because, let me tell you guys, from JSS 1 in secondary school, I began to cast news.
Wow.
They will put me up on the stage and they will put a chair and I'll climb the chair and cast news. I did that till I got to SS3. And so I felt like I had figured out mass communication in secondary school. And I didn't want to go over it in university. I'd always been a part of literary debating and press club. And so I didn't think I should do it again. But after we talked and after I went back home and sat down and thought and then talked to one or two people, I realized that was intrinsically me. Communications was my thing. This was God's gift to me. This was what God wanted me to use my life to do. And so I decided to go quickly and reapply for another course because I had already gotten my admission to study law and economics, but I quickly slot in a change of course and I was given journalism and mass communications.
Awesome. And so at this point, I mean, we're basically having feelings for each other,
Yes,
and
feelings had
then
developed.
yeah, it kind of got awkward because I never shared with you any intentions I had.
No, we thought we were just friends.
Yes, but
Yeah.
then when you begin to enjoy someone's company, there's
Mm-hmm.
that chemistry, there's that attraction. I
Yes.
mean, so how was it for you at this point?
Oh yeah, so we had gotten quite close to each other, we had gotten
And
to
this was
this.
mostly on phone,
Yes,
right?
mostly on phone, and then times where you will be in London church and then you will walk me. Okay, so those were the brief moments that we got to see, maybe like midweek service, Sunday service, so maybe twice in a week if you did come for midweek service, like from Wolverhampton. Okay, but really most of the time it was phone calls and chats.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we had really gotten close to each other. We had really known a lot about each other within such a short period of time, 3 months or so.
Yeah.
And then so my aunt, so I stayed with my aunt for 1 year in the UK before I moved
And
out.
to Mary.
Yes, I stayed with my aunt. So my aunt noticed that I was always on the phone with this guy. I was always talking to this guy. And she called me out one day and she began to talk to me. She's like, "Are you guys dating?" And I'm like, "Oh no, we're just friends. We're just friends." And she's like, "Well, if you're not dating, I think you need to really define this relationship." She said to me, she said, "I'm talking to you from experience and I don't want you to be hurt." She's like, "Sometimes guys do that and they mean no harm, but eventually he gets to find out another person that he really is into and he moves on and asks that person out and you end up being hurt." She
Yeah.
said, "I don't want it to be you. I don't want that to be your story. It is better now you define a relationship
Yeah.
than you get hurt in the future." Wow. It was like an eye opener for me. I didn't even realize how much time I'd invested into him, to the point that it got noticeable by my aunt. And I knew I had to do something. And so I told him I needed to speak to him about something, I needed to talk with him. And I said to him, I really appreciate your friendship, but I think that we're not in a love relationship. And so we should minimize the amount of time that we spend together
Okay.
on phone. Please, we're still friends, but just that we're not in a love relationship. Let's just minimize the time.
Wow.
Thank you
I
very
remember
much.
that conversation. I was actually in the library in Wolverhampton doing some coursework,
Yeah.
and I remember that call, and I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. So at this point, this was sort of like a wake up call for me. I
Yeah.
realized that look, I needed to take, it's either I back off
Yeah.
or we take this to the next level.
True.
I share with you what my real intentions are. And to be honest with you, at this point, I wasn't actively thinking about a love relationship.
Same.
To be honest with you, I mean, I'm in my early 20s right now.
We both were.
Yes, yes. I mean, okay, early to mid 20s, thereabouts.
No, we both were in our early 20s.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so at this point, I wasn't actually thinking about a love relationship.
Yes.
So I was, I'm asking myself, am I ready for a love relationship? So I began to ask myself those questions. But then I realized that this is really the kind of person I want to spend my life with. I mean, when I look at my values, her values, she was simple, she was humble, she really respected me. She showed me a lot of respect, even though with our age gap is just not that much, maybe almost 2 years thereabouts. She showed me a lot of respect. She loved God. She was very intelligent. I realized that we needed to take this to the next level, and so I spent some time thinking. Spoke with one or two friends, and I just told myself, look, I need to speak with her. Mind you, before this time, I don't think I'd really okay, I dated one or two persons in the past.
Yeah.
Right. But this for me was really serious because this was like a life defining moment for me. I saw someone that I really believed I could spend my life with. So after a few weeks, after she called me, we would just talk once in a while.
His attitude changed a bit.
Yes, yes.
His attitude
My
changed
attitude
a
changed a
bit.
bit, but
Yeah.
then I summoned the courage. I
Yeah.
summoned the courage to actually speak to you. Now, before I asked you out,
Yeah.
like in your mind, did you think this is someone I could date? Or did you think I would come ask you out? Or what was in your mind at this point?
Well, I don't really know what was in your mind at the
Yeah,
time, but at the point I told you that, what was it was that I realized that I had already gotten attached to this guy. I
yeah.
already liked him. I liked his personality. Unexpectedly, he kind of ticked a lot of boxes for
You're
me.
falling in love.
But I told myself that I would rather make the tough decision now than deal with the pain later on. And
Yes.
whatever would happen, let it be. And I knew, I mean, being a guy in the choir, there were one or two people around his life, and I'm like, he's free to make his choice.
Yeah.
Okay, he's free to make his choice. Whatever would be, let it be. Okay, so I just settled it in my heart at that time. But then something happened. So I was rounding off my IFP, my International Foundation program.
Yeah.
I rounded it off on that Friday, and I got home and I was just in God's presence, thanking Him for the day, thanking Him for my IFP program, for the 8 months of being in the United Kingdom, for His help, everything. I was just in worship mode. And I remember kneeling down. Okay, I took to my knees and I was just worshiping. I don't know if I fell asleep, but what I do remember was that it was like a trance. I had like a trance, and in that brief moment, I saw this guy in a quite close, intimate way, and I kind of got out of it in a shock, and I began to plead the blood of Jesus, and I began to pray. I began to pray, and I didn't say anything. From there I just picked myself from the bed, from my knees, and just went to bed. Because I was like, I've not experienced that before, because God doesn't quite speak to me through visions and dreams.
Yeah.
I usually tell people that God speaks to me through His Word. I kind of see like God puts a highlighter on a certain scripture, and I know God is talking to me about a certain thing. That's the way He has spoken to me for many years now. And so that experience was out of the ordinary for me. It was
Yeah.
out of the ordinary.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, so I summoned courage and then I decided I was going to speak to you. So
Yeah.
I think on a Saturday evening, sometime in August 2009,
Yes.
I just said, look, I'm going to ask her out. So I called you on the phone and then checked on you. And then I just basically began to share my heart with you. I think I said words like, I see the potential of a lifelong relationship with
True.
you. I see the potential of someone I could build my life with.
True.
And I would love for us to get into a love relationship,
Leading to
leading to
marriage.
marriage,
You said so. You said
Yeah,
those
so for
words.
me, I wanted a love relationship, a serious relationship leading to marriage. I was pretty clear about it.
I was amazed because it was just the next day after I had that trance experience. It was the next day. I
So let me ask
was.
you, were you expecting me to?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. When you said you wanted to talk to me, I didn't know
I
what.
think I told you previously that I would
Yes,
like for us to talk,
so you
right?
buzzed me like, oh, how's your day? And you kept sort of checking up on me like
Yeah.
that day. And I'm like, fine, I'm doing this. I'll just keep you abreast with what I'm here. Like, when you're free, when you're done, please, I'd like to have a word with you.
Yeah.
And so in the evening was when I was free. And so I buzzed you, and then you picked up the call. You called me, and boom, those were your words. I think I said to you, I'll come back to you. I can't remember, but I think that was what I said. And then I went straight up to my aunt and I was excited. I was like, he asked, he asked. I was sort of impressed by how suddenly it happened,
Okay.
because it was so important for me to make the tough decision and to really test whether he had some amount of feelings for me the way that I did, and to know whether what we had together was genuine and was
Yeah.
worth it, and that he didn't really drag that
Yeah.
long, maybe a couple of weeks or 3 weeks after that conversation, and
After the difficult
the
conversation.
difficult conversation, and boom, he pumps the question. And so I was very, very happy. So I didn't give you tough time. I didn't play hard to get. It was just like after maybe a couple of days,
You couldn't resist me, could you?
whatever. So I came back and I told him, well, yeah, let's do it. Yes, it's a yes. It's a yes.
Awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
so at this point, we had to then inform like my family, isn't it? I informed my family.
Oh yes. So after I spoke to my aunt, we thought the very next step is to let people that the people we're accountable to
Yeah.
know where we are. I mean, we were both adults in our early 20s, so we was pretty much serious about this relationship, even though I was doing my undergrad. So he called his mom and told her, and then I called my mom in
Yeah.
Nigeria and I told her to just keep us in their prayers.
Yes.
This is what we're trying to do.
And then we informed some of our leaders in church as well.
Yes, we
One or
did.
two pastors as well in church.
Yes.
Just for accountability.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
And so our relationship has blossomed since then.
Yeah,
I'm sure we have a lot more to share.
of course.
But that's pretty much how we met.
Yes.
And how our love story started.
Began.
How
Yes.
it began.
Yes.
And guess what? We're still in love.
We are. We are more in love now than we were like 16 years
Are you
ago.
sure about that?
I absolutely think so. I think our love has more depth. It has more
Wow.
meaning. It has more substance. It has
Yeah.
more proofs. Strength and grit. Yeah.
It's been great. So we hope to share with you a lot more
Yes.
about our love journey and other lessons in between.
Yeah.
And other stories that will hopefully inspire you.
Hope you were inspired.
Yes.
Hope you learned one or two things, and hope we got you like entertained by our story.
Yeah. Let us know what you think.
Please do.
Let us know what you think. You can make a comment, perhaps ask a question.
Yeah, feel free and just like, subscribe, encourage
share.
us, please.
All
Encourage
right.
us.
God bless you.
Thanks for your
Thanks for
time.
your time.
See you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.